Am I a hypocrite? Are you a hypocrite? Hi, welcome back to my channel, Epiphany Me TV. I'm Dr. Jazz, and here on my channel, I like to talk about topics related to personal growth and development, self-care, lifestyle, and other topics that I'm moved by. So if you're inspired in any kind of way, go ahead and hit that share, like, or subscribe button, or all three. And comment below your thoughts on this video or some topics you would like to hear more about in the future. All right, so let's get into it. Am I a hypocrite? Are you a hypocrite? When it comes to music that heals versus music that harms. I know you see this debate around Young Miami's song Spin That, and I kind of went back and forth about if I should get involved in this topic or not, but I'm just going to give my quick little spiel on it. But am I a hypocrite? Are you a hypocrite? When it comes to the type of music, entertainment, movies, what have you, that we choose to watch and critique versus the other things that we might let slide by. So I want to get into this debate. I know we saw the post that NDRE, or maybe that was Carrie Hilson. I'm going to tag it below. But both women were talking about how the music now, especially in particular, this Spin That song, is encouraging the youth to commit crime. It's really degrading the race, or it's just making, us as a culture look bad. That's kind of some of the argument that you see. And so I want to kind of get into that. Like, what has this song brought about, and what does it really mean? So I started Epiphany Me back in 2020. And on my blog, I posted this piece titled Dear Black Woman, It's Okay to F Up. And what this was in response to was, at that time, the Real Housewives of Potomac, that was when that big fight had happened between Monique and Candace. They were at like a winery somewhere. And I remember Dr. Wendy and others making comments like, since Monique threw hands first, oh, she's making Black women look bad. Oh, that whole scene altogether was just so degrading. You've set us back, some years because of your acts at that event. So I was inspired to write a piece about that. Like, how can one woman's action, and not just her, it could be a couple of other women at the same time, set us back? So I was like, no, let me put the power back in our hands. No, one woman's action doesn't set a whole culture back or a whole race back. And that's a whole lot of pressure to put on one person, that the type of actions or the activities that you choose to do with your life can either move your race forward or backwards. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing today when it comes to Young Miami's song Spin That. It's kind of like, how can you post this song? How could you have produced this song with such pride when the lyrics and the things that you're pushing forward is going to set our culture back? If youth were to really do what it is that you're pushing forward in this song, I really want to pick apart or dive into, not a deep dive, but just a little slight dive into what this song means. But anyway, going back to my blog, years ago, I posted this article or this piece titled, Dear Black Woman, It's Okay to F Up, in response to the Real Housewives of Potomac scene between Candace and Monique. But the piece of research that I used to ground my argument in was published by Dorinda Carter Andrews and colleagues. It was published in 2019, and the title of that article is The Impossibility of Being Perfect and White: Black Girls' Racialized and Gendered Schooling Experience. And although Dorinda Carter Andrews and colleagues wrote that piece based off of Black girls' schooling experiences, I applied the same concept to Black women in other social arenas, like when it comes to the workplace, entertainment, friend circles, whatever, what have you. That same racialized and gendered experience, that pressure of that where we put on ourselves, like we have to perform at a certain level or it's going to bring the race back. It's really unfair. And it's not that it's not rooted in truth. And I'm going to get into that too. We have to be careful about how we put pressure on certain people to perform when that's exactly what it is a performance. This is entertainment. It's a persona. So I found that piece. Although my exact blog that I created back in 2020 no longer exists, I still saved my articles that I posted or my pieces that I posted to my blog. So in this piece, I wrote, Black women are constantly being held under a microscope, being analyzed and picked apart. And every time statements similar to Dr. Wendy's are made, it only perpetuates the narrative or the notion that Black women mustn't be unruly, but well behaved and ladylike at all times to prove our humanity. Trust me, I know that we as Black women are fighting against social descriptors and stereotypes that were historically placed upon us by dominant Eurocentric views regarding which race or ethnicity of women should be regarded as pure, and which Black women often come last in place. However, we do have the power within ourselves to allow our fellow Black sisters to act out of character and make mistakes from time to time without bestowing guilt upon them. Because let's keep it real, there are some non Black people who may view the smartest and most sophisticated Black woman you know as being less than simply based on the color of her skin. Black lives matter, they will always matter, whether you decide to react versus respond to someone who made you angry, or if you're out campaigning for social justice. So let's take our power back as Black women and allow our unique and expressive behaviors to be celebrated. Now, I'm not saying go full rogue and treat people any kind of way. I will always be an advocate for women, empowerment, unity, and I believe in promoting peace and love. However, I am saying that if you do get a little unruly or act out aggressively from time to time, it's okay. However, take full ownership and responsibility of your actions and hold yourself accountable moving forward. Just know that your behavior doesn't discredit the work you've done to get where you are, nor does it discredit the progressive work of the Black community. So, now back to the current debate or the current argument that we see happening now around the song Spin That. Music, of course, has gotten, I will agree, it has gotten a little bit more explicit over time. And we can think, and I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way, I'm saying that in a great way because music should be your opportunity to express your lived experiences. And sometimes it's not going to come out clean, it's going to come out raw and uncut. So we have Two Live Crew to thank for allowing our opportunity to have that freedom of expression, that freedom of speech in our albums and our music that you hear now. There was a time where you couldn't have all of these explicit lyrics or content that you were describing, but because of Two Live Crew and that parental advisory that you now see on albums, that permits or allows artists to really get expressive, raw, uncut, as explicit as they want to be, without, you know, having to worry about legal matters. So, yes, I agree. Music has kind of gotten more explicit over time due to the extra privileges and rights that we do have to that expression. And I feel like that just comes with the territory. So now I want to talk a little bit about respectability politics. If you look into historical accounts, you can look at articles written by Cornel West, Patricia Hill Collins. It's going to maybe mention respectability politics. Based off of the historical maltreatment of Black women, Black people in general in American context because of chattel slavery, and the brutal experiences that we received over time, the images and the view of ourselves that was reinforced time and time again is that you're not human enough. You're not like us. You're not like us. And I'm talking about the dominant Euro white population. And so, as a way of survival and as a way of making it and getting towards upward social mobility, women, and in particular Black women, adopted a respectability politics. So that means if my hair is laid a certain way, pressed a certain way, if my clothes look this way. And of course, we have to talk about things like classism, social economic status, things like that, to where if I position myself this way and I appear this way, I'll be treated with respect and I'll be treated, in high regard, regardless of my skin color. Respectability politics was all about survival. It was a way to survive the psychological, physical, emotional, mental harm, that we were receiving through media, Jim Crow era, slave codes. Like, think about all of the detrimental harm and maltreatment that Black people have experienced in U.S. context. So, of course, I understand respectability. Respectability politics was all about survival. What I aim for more so is self integrity, because respectability politics, again, it comes from a form of survival, it comes from generational trauma, it comes from having to assimilate or people please to a white dominant culture and audience, whereas just regular self integrity and self respect That's really more so instilled through family values, what you're trained up and experienced around. So that is what we really see happening. So when you see posts from like India Re or Carrie Hilton or anyone who has been on the opposing side of spin that, it's leaning into that respectability politics. Like, how could you produce this music that is encouraging the youth to commit crime? Or how could you, position Black women in this way when all of the work we've done so far to get us to where we are now, you're putting us back? The same could be said about entertainment. So, are we going to say the same about crime shows, these VH1 shows where it highlights women who have, scammed or done committed crimes in their day, and now they have an opportunity to tell their story, but they've turned their life around? Should those shows be taken off of television? I would be a hypocrite to say that I only listen to music that is all about self love and self empowerment. So that's why I say, are we a hypocrite? Am I a hypocrite? I would be lying if I said I never listen to explicit music or music that may highlight Black women in a not so positive light. But I also like self empowerment songs like This Girl Is on Fire by Alicia Keys. I like Miseducation by Lauryn Hill. There are a plethora of other, self empowerment, positive songs that I like. When we talk about the multi-dimensionality of Black women, that's what I mean. That's what is meant by the multi-dimensionality of women. There's so many layers to who we are and what makes us the complex women and beings that we are. You're not just this black white. It's not, everything is not black and white. There's that gray area. And so in that gray area, it can be messy where you're kind of going between navigating both lanes, both worlds. But when I say, does it make me a hypocrite? My answer is no, because I practice what I preach. Now, what I'm entertained by and what I may listen to from time to time is different than what I practice in my daily living, my daily rituals. I'm all about women empowerment, promoting love and uplifting, the woman beside me. So although I may listen to this music from time to time, I don't let it infiltrate my spirit. And I think that's what the older population and people like India Re and Carrie Hilton is what they're really referring to. I want to get away from how we're setting our culture back, and let's focus on like making sure our youth have a good foundation to where they can tell the difference between entertainment and real life. Like, it's okay to be entertained by music like this, to understand that this is a persona that this person is putting forward. This is, somebody is actually telling their lived experiences or things they might have seen happen in their community, in their neighborhood, but to know that there's also real consequences to those actions. So I'm a firm believer in, with more exposure comes deeper conversations. It is no lie that our youth today have exposure to all types of information more so than any other generation before us. With the advent of, AI and all of this technology, all of the social media platforms that are around now, they have it right at their fingertips. And so I do agree they are exposed to way more than what we were, as a 90s baby and generations before. But with more exposure comes more education that needs to happen in the home. And so I'm a firm believer in, yes, we are inspired by culture, fashion trends, music, entertainment. It does inspire and it does have a huge influence on teen youth behavior and sometimes some adult behavior, like the type of fashion trends and the type of activities or things that you want to try, food choices. We're all influenced in some way or another. You want to make sure you're reinforcing what behavior you want to see. And yes, I agree. We do need to be mindful of what the youth are being exposed to. But again, that's why I say it's also important to not let culture or entertainment or artists raise your youth or the youth that you have in your life. It's mostly important to not pick and choose where we decide to draw the line. Where do you decide to draw the line? Is it only when it comes to certain Black women artists, or is it all music in general that has explicit content or that raw element to it in general? Let's start having more so of these conversations around what should be personified, and what's actualized? What should be viewed as pure entertainment? What should be regarded as your reality? Tell me your thoughts on this topic altogether. Do you feel like we're hypocrites? Are you a hypocrite? Do you listen to both music, music that can be a bit harmful or explicit, raw, uncut, and also healing music, music that elevates you, empowers you? Or are you a person that's very cut and dry, like you either listen to this or that? But let me know your thoughts around this topic and what do you think we should do to move the conversation forward? All right, well, drop your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.